popular Broadway New York theater radiates glamour for the sneak preview of the CinemaScope version of The 7-Year Itch and the birthday of its star, the incomparable Marilyn Monroe, who thrills the theatrical district with a personal appearance escorted by the great Joe DiMaggio. Miss Monroe wears a short, tight-fitting evening dress molded to the figure with the popular V neckline. A vision of delight.
On both coasts, gala premieres of a new hit. At New York's historic Palace, the Gotham debut of UI's Pillow Talk is attended by producer Ross Hunter. UI President Milton Racknell and Vivian Blaine, his wife. Rock Hudson, star of the new screen comedy, and Tallulah Bankhead. A surging, enthusiastic crowd greeted arriving celebrities. It was one of the Great White Way's brightest recent events. Sharing the popular ovation at the Palace, Thelma Ritter, another of Pillow Talk's comedy stars. It's a dual premiere downtown, a benefit at New York's newest first-run movie theater. Fire Commissioner Kavanaugh wields the axe to open the new Murray Hill. Novelist Fannie Hurst and Hope Hampton are among the crowd of notables present. This showing of Pillow Talk, one of whose comedy lights is Tony Randall, is a benefit for the United Nations School, and Benjamin Cohen of the UN is but one of many dignitaries on hand. Across the continent, Hollywood's Egyptian Theater is ablaze with light. Esther Williams and Jeff Chandler among the Hollywood luminaries attending the West Coast premiere, with a beaming Rock Hudson just arrived by plane from the New York debut of the comedy success. Completing the picture, Doris Day herself, Pillow Talk's leading lady and America's #1 film star.
New York's Great White Way depicts the glow of excitement on an evening when the motion picture screen welcomes a monumental film. With pride, MGM presents Samuel Bronston's production King of Kings, which has its Broadway premiere at the new Lowe's State Theater. The crowds turn out to see the stars and the other VIP guests, and they're rewarded with a close-up of lovely Carol Baker making an appearance for this important night at the movies. Arriving now, MGM President Joseph R. Vogel with Mrs. Vogel. Also, the top executives of Lowe's Theaters, Lawrence and Preston Tish. Cameras on young and beautiful Bridget Baslin arriving with her mother, newspaper woman Maggie Daly. Miss Baslin portrays Salome in the biblical drama. Hollywood Boulevard also witnesses a premiere performance of King of Kings. The West Coast opening attracts stars and religious, business, and social leaders to witness a story of the Christ, the glory of his spoken words, filmed in 70mm Super Technorama and Technicolor. Jeffrey Hunter, youthful American actor, chosen from scores of candidates, portrays Jesus Christ. To Nicholas Ray fell the assignment of director, guiding the large cast through the towering narrative of the people and times of Jesus.
Crowds assemble to witness a celebrity parade at the New York world premiere of the Ten Commandments. From the cast of Paramount's VistaVision presentation, a $13 million classic which will be seen on theater screens for years to come, a who's who of great Hollywood stars. Charlton Heston, arriving with Mrs. Heston, enacts the role of Moses, from his youth to leading his people out of bondage. Yul Brynner, cast as Pharaoh Ramesses II. Anne Baxter, seen in the Ten Commandments as Princess Nefertiri. Edward G. Robinson, who plays the treacherous overlord Dathan. Yvonne DiCarlo, arriving with her husband, plays Moses' wife. Martha Scott, with her husband and son, is the mother of Moses in the film. Cecil B. DeMille, director-producer of the biblical drama. Attending the premiere with his daughter, the Dean of Filmdom's craftsmen has made his most notable contribution to the cinema art. The 75-year-old master showman announces he will donate his profits from the earnings of the Ten Commandments to a trust fund for religious, charitable, and educational purposes. Paramount Pictures President Barney Balaban with Mrs. Balaban and their party. They join other notables of motion pictures such as William Holden and his wife, John Wayne and his wife, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, all contributing to a night of dazzling spectacle on the Great White Way. Truly a window upon the crossroads of the world, where the motion picture camera looks in on motion picture history.
New York's Great White Way is aglow with excitement, lights, crowds, celebrities to welcome Ben-Hur into the Lowe's state. 3 times an adaptation of the Lew Wallace novel has come to Broadway. As a stage production, a silent movie, and today filmed in color and widescreen. Filmland's elder statesman Adolf Zucker leads industry representatives at the premiere. MGM production chief Saul C. Siegel and Maurice Silverstein of Lowe's International. And the president of Lowe's Theaters, Eugene Picker. And now arriving, William Wyler with Mrs. Wyler, director of MGM's $15 million film. The excitement builds as Charlton Heston, who has the title role of Ben-Hur, arrives with his wife. And Joseph R. Vogel, president of Lowe's Incorporated, and Mrs. Vogel. At a reception before the premiere performance, Heston is greeted by the Ben-Hur of the 1925 silent screen version, Raymond Navarro. A nostalgic touch, and Navarro looks so youthful. Charlton with Haya Harari, Israeli actress who is cast as Esther. Martha Scott, who enacts Ben-Hur's mother, and Stephen Boyd, who portrays Masala. They join leaders of the entertainment, business, and social worlds for this debut of the film, which is acclaimed a blockbuster, and to which the motion picture industry and the exhibitor point with pride. Ben-Hur comes alive on Broadway.
One of the most brilliant audiences in the history of the theater attends the New York premiere of Darryl Zanuck's The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit. And the 4-star adaptation of the bestseller, produced under Zanuck's personal aegis, reaps a bonanza for the March of Dimes. With Carousel's Shirley Jones making a charming appearance with Barbara and Melville Ruick. While The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit's co-star, Marisa Pavan, has her new husband, Jean-Pierre Romant, as escort. And here are Donna Winter and Greg Botzer for the opening, which marks Zanuck's 30th year in the film industry. In Los Angeles, a tropical rainstorm fails to dampen the enthusiasm for the West Coast premiere of the Darryl Zanuck triumph. Producer Buddy Adler with Anita Louise and Rosalind Russell. The Grauman Chinese Theater opening of the film that stars Frederick March, here with his wife, sees co-star Lee J. Cobb make a solo appearance. But title rollist of The Man in the Gray Flannel Suit, Gregory Peck, attends with his charming wife.
Winging into Kentucky for a 2-day celebration at Louisville is Eva Marie Saint, who has rocketed to stardom and a top role in Raintree County. Myrna Hansen, a former Miss USA, is another luminary, joined by Van Johnson in receiving the acclaim of the moviegoers. And here, Elizabeth Taylor, the other top feminine star of the new feature, accompanied by Mike Todd, her famous husband. Louisville goes all out welcoming the celebrities, with a parade, a grand ball, and the premiere, pioneering a film utilizing the vast dimensions of the 65mm motion picture process. And Miller arrives. Terry Moore and her husband. Eva Marie Saint. And the Mike Todds, Elizabeth Taylor, glamorous for a memorable world premiere in the Bluegrass State.
On big screen entertainment at New York's Times Square, the gala premiere of Thunder Bay ushers in a widescreen 3 times regular size, a new era of motion picture exhibition. Directional sound heightens the entertainment value of the film, a saga of offshore oil drilling. Universal International executives are among the 3,000 persons attending. Leaders of the motion picture industry, civic officials, stars of stage and screen. The Boris Karloffs and no Frankenstein. Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, the popular Mr. and Mrs. team from Hollywood, greeted by their fans. And a greeting in return by the handsome couple. Xavier Cugat and Abby Lane. The star of the picture, Jimmy Stewart, here for the premiere with the charming Mrs. Stewart, his #1 fan. Jimmy Stewart, plus the wonder of full stage screen, plus the miracle of stereophonic sound, plus Thunder Bay, all adding up to entertainment plus.
In How the West Was Won. The opening night's proceeds benefit St. John's Hospital Foundation, and joining a distinguished audience are many of the film's featured players. Here it's Russ Tamblyn with his wife, and a perennial favorite, Walter Brennan with Mrs. Brennan. Carl Malden among more than a dozen with starring roles in How the West Was Won. Another is Debbie Reynolds, arriving with her husband, Harry Carl. Carol Baker also shares star billing, along with Lee J. Cobb. And Jimmy Stewart. Mrs. Stewart is treasurer for the charity premiere, which has among its coordinators Rosalind Russell. With tickets scaled at $100 and $50, Chairman Irene Dunn announces that more than $100,000 is raised for new hospital construction from the premiere of How the West Was Won.
In the West End, the show business had the night of its life, a premiere attended by stars galore in aid of the Actors' Orphanage. Sir Laurence Olivier arrived with Audrey Hepburn and her husband, Mel Ferrer. Almost everyone there was world famous. Leo Genn, and all of them in that unique audience, here's Eva Bartok, were supporting the charity dearest to the heart of the acting profession. Sir Donald Wolfett brought a breath of the Shakespearean stage. Dame Edith Evans stars in the film having its premiere that evening. So does Dame Peggy Ashcroft. It was an unusual experience for Jack Hawkins to be in the audience. John Fraser, Yvonne Mitchell. The star of the film, adorable Audrey Hepburn, with Sir Laurence and the film's director, Fred Zinnemann, received Sylvia Sims and all the other guests. Leslie Caron and Margaret Leighton. An amazing night. Poor Audrey got something in her eye, but it wasn't serious.
It's the opening night of the film, My Fair Lady. Here from the States is Colonel Jack Warner, and perhaps not even he has ever made a finer picture than the one all the top people are here to welcome tonight. On the right in this group is Sir Philip Warter. One of the stars of the film, Jeremy Brett, arrives with Mrs. Torrance Stephen. Mr. Jack Goodlatte, followed by Nadia Raka. With Rex Harrison and Vivian Lee, John Merivale. Bearded film star Mel Ferrer escorting the one and only Audrey Hepburn. With them, Jack Warner. More big names of the film world, Robert Clark and C.J. Lambert. The royal arrival, Princess Alexandra with Earl Mountbatten. The stars of this greatest ever musical are presented to the princess. First, that unique actress, Audrey Hepburn, who portrays Eliza Doolittle. Rex Harrison, Professor Higgins, of course. Stanley Holloway and Cecil Beaton. What lucky people, all who were present to see My Fair Lady.
New York's Criterion Theater and the dazzling world premiere of Universal's star-studded Technicolor musical Thoroughly Modern Millie. Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet arrive, along with a number of easily recognized celebrities. The gala premiere is a benefit performance for the Museum of the City of New York. Universal President Milton Rackmill and Mrs. Rackmill are among the film industry leaders in attendance. The long-awaited premiere is one of Manhattan's major social events of the season. Actor Kevin McCarthy escorts Susan Stein. Millie recalls the delightful days of the 20s, complete with flappers, songs, and dances with a hilarious story. Beloved Beatrice Lillie, one of the film's co-stars, helps to make the evening one of Broadway's biggest nights. Another First Lady of the theater, Ethel Merman, arrives with composer Jimmy Van Heusen. His songwriting partner, Sammy Kahn, waves to the crowd. They wrote Millie's original songs. Composer-conductor Elmer Bernstein, who did the musical score for the film, gets an enthusiastic greeting, while star Mary Tyler Moore provides one of the many electrically exciting moments as she arrives. The lovely brunette plays an orphan, Miss Dorothy Brown. Carol Channing, another of the picture stars, is escorted by Broadway producer David Merrick. British actor James Fox is Millie's male lead, unveiling his talent for comedy, songs, and dances. Producer Ross Hunter arrives with Mrs. Nancy Sinatra. First-nighters and the critics agree that the film is a total winner, acclaiming all of its stars, including Julie Andrews in the title role.
Atlantic City turns out en masse to cheer Esther Williams as she stars in a boardwalk parade escorted by a bevy of beauty contest winners. Just one highlight of the festivities surrounding the world premiere here of her newest film, UI's Raw Wind in Eden. Atlantic City has seen excitement in its time, but this is a new high. Even though Miss Williams' picture wasn't filmed here, but in a dramatic setting near Italy's Tyrrhenian Sea, it gets as big a reception as did its lovely star.
Glittering night at the movies in New York. World premiere of MGM's Mutiny on the Bounty. An exact replica of HMS Bounty was built for the film, and on her tour to many ports, her skipper has been Captain Ellsworth Coggins, here arriving for the premiere. MGM President Joseph R. Vogel sees the Aaron Rosenberg production reach the screen and draw wide acclaim. A Tahitian girl, Tarita, portrays Maimiti, who falls in love with Fletcher Christian. This is she in person, sharing the excitement of the big opening night on Broadway. Now the arrival of Marlon Brando. As Fletcher Christian, he has what unquestionably is the most colorful role of his career as leader of the mutiny. There is a real Fletcher Christian. A descendant of the famous mutineer, he joins Marlon Brando for an eagerly awaited screen event, Mutiny on the Bounty, acclaimed as a high mark of filmed adventure on the sea. Pelting their reception committee with snowballs from the cold north, youthful stars arrive at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Much of the film in which they appear, Where the Boys Are, was shot here. So it's understandable that the mayor himself, Edward Johns, welcomes Paula Prentice and others in the cast arriving for premiere festivities. Jim Hutton and Maggie Pierce also meet his honor, and producer Joe Pasternak toasts the occasion with orange juice. The new film about Fort Lauderdale, which gives songbird Connie Francis her first movie role, concerns the springtime influx of college youth and the girls who want to be where the boys are. Following the gala civic ceremonies, the budding young stars enjoy the thrills of a world premiere, the lights and the crowds which make for excitement. Whether on Broadway or in your own hometown, everybody wants to get a look at new favorites. Fort Lauderdale goes to the movies with the stars and enjoys the treat. Broadway at dusk.
And as the lights go on, the News of the Day camera records the welcome for Lolita, the film the whole town's talking about. Introducing Sue Lyon in the title role and starring James Mason, Shelley Winters, and Peter Sellers, the MGM 7 Arts release has a dual opening in the big town. At the Gala Invitational premiere, Miss Winters with Chris Jones. Dressed for their roles in a Broadway hit play, they'll rush to make the opening curtain. There is acclaim in the film world for Stanley Kubrick, director of Lolita, arriving with Mrs. Kubrick. Crowds on the lookout for celebrities see the popular Red Buttons make his appearance. The shutters are clicking and the arrivals continue. Here, Joan Fontaine and Hugh O'Brien. And now, Sue Lyon and James Mason. The capable young actress, who was 14 when she received the nod to play the title role in Lolita, shares the plaudits of the critics and movie fans with Mr. Mason, a veteran of many great starring performances. Broadway welcomes another hit for the big theater screen.